There are many ways to tell a story, and How I Met Your Mother is a show all about storytelling. The basic premise of the show is Ted, the main character, telling his future kids all of the events that led up to him meeting their mother. How I Met Your Mother, of course, is a sitcom, but it doesn't always stick to the strict sitcom formula of a plot. My name is Grant, and in this story, I need to pay back the neighbor because I broke her window with a baseball. And then the B plot would be Grant's parents having to deal with financial problems. I don't know. Because How I Met Your Mother is narrated retrospectively, Ted telling his kids what happened 25 years prior, there's always a lot of flashbacks. So I'm not saying that flashbacks count as a unique structure in this case. I'm saying unique for How I Met Your Mother. Sometimes they switch up the story structure and do a whodunit style, where one character acts as a detective and tells the story as they see it through the clues that they're collecting.
But I wonder where Ted went. Ted Mosby, the architect?
We get to see the character progress to different locations and pick up more information, and then we get to see it visibly play out, like a fake flashback that they imagined. And then at the end of the episode, everything gets recontextualized because you get like the final puzzle piece, and you see that everything that they thought happened kind of happened, but either with a different person, or with a different context, or with a different conclusion.
Ted Mosby, architect.
That's just so fun for an audience. It switches up the monotony of normal sitcom structure. It keeps you invested. It keeps you coming back after the commercial breaks. It keeps your show rewatchable. It keeps your show fun. It's raining outside, so you can hear the thunder and the rain right now. Episodes that do this are Ted Mosby, Architect, Daisy, and Mom and Dad. Sometimes it's not even the main plot of the episode, but just like a B plot as a whodunit. And it's so fun. There's so much to watch. Changing your plot structure is also effective for emotional resonance with the character. There's going to be some spoilers when I talk about this episode because it's in a later season and it's a pretty big reveal. So just be warned. In the episode Symphony of Illumination, Robin narrates, talking to her future kids. So we get to see all of her inner thoughts and her perspective looking back and how she would tell the story in the future. The whole time it's got the same components of a normal episode of a narrator talking to kids on a couch, but they're different kids with a new perspective. This is an episode where we find out that Robin can't have kids. Seeing her talk to these future kids all episode makes that revelation more impactful for the audience because you get to see like, oh, she doesn't get to have that future. That was all imagined. And a topic as personal as that for the character makes more sense to have her tell the story. Let's say older Ted did narrate it, and the whole time you were just hearing, Robin was going through a hard time. Robin went to the doctor, and you know what, kids? That was really hard for her. And she didn't feel like she could talk about it. Like, that's way different than having Robin do a first-person recount of her experience. Part of the episode was her feeling like she couldn't talk to her friends about it. So it wouldn't make any sense for older Ted to know all of these thoughts and be telling the story. I think why this is important to talk about is like if you're writing a story or if you're trying to write a show, like don't be afraid to switch up the structure when it fits the context. What's the most effective way to do this? Who knows what information? Could the structure be changed to make it more effective? On a more fun note and less emotional, they love to do stories that are told in chunks from different people's perspectives. Or in one episode called The Burning Beekeeper, everything is told room to room of a house. So it starts 5 minutes in the living room, 5 minutes in the dining room, 5 minutes in the kitchen, and it's like a play where people walk in and out. They hint at things that are in other rooms. Those stories are all told out of order, but you get little hints along the way. One that keeps you watching because you want to know what the heck's going on in the kitchen. What is that person looking at in the other room? And it helps you rewatch it because now you know the context of, oh, they were talking to that person right now, or they were doing this in this room. That's fun. The episode Brunch, it's told in 3 different perspectives. Barney's perspective, Robin's perspective, and Lily and Marshall's perspective. And each one of those perspectives has new information that the others don't. Like, because some characters only go to certain locations at a certain time. The episode starts with a big group scene where Ted's mad. Robin's telling Ted's mom that she has to talk to him. Marshall and Lily are in a fight. That makes the audience want to know, like, what the heck happened? And instead of it being like everybody gets their own through line of the plot, it's all mixed together. Throughout the episode, they go back to that group scene, so it recontextualizes it, and then we move on to the next group who's fighting. It takes the A-B plot structure and just switches it a little, because a lot of sitcoms, it goes A plot, B plot, and then at the end, it mixes them together. In the baseball story, the parents are arguing about finances and the kid broke the window with the baseball. And then the end part of the show has the boy come up to the parents and say, I'll help you with the finances because I broke the window, or something. It's not a great example, maybe. Instead of having it all A, all B, then come together at the end, this chunking style is like convergence A, convergence B, convergence C, and then final convergence where you know the full picture. There's another episode that does a similar thing. It's called Lucky Penny, and it's told backwards. The story is revealed as the characters think about it. So they think about like the most recent event that happened, and then they think about what caused that event, and then what caused that event. So it starts with Ted being late for a flight, then it goes to what led to that day, the day before, and who was involved and who's at fault, and when did it start. They could have done the story of like, Marshall's training for a marathon and here's what happened. But instead it's like, here's a long story, here's an overlap of that story, and a shorter overlap and a shorter overlap, until you get the full concept of what was happening with each character at that time. That's cool and fun. I'm the kind of person who loves to hear other people's perspectives on things and see where they're coming from and solving little mysteries. I think that's fun, and these episodes allow the audience to do that. Another fun thing you could do if you're writing a story is think about some kind of limitation a character has. There's an episode where Barney is jinxed the whole time, so he can't talk. It's called The Final Page Part 1. So that impacts how the other characters act and where they go and what they do. And there has to be an interesting way that he breaks the jinx at the end. It's established that Barney takes jinxes very seriously and he's really petty with them, and so it's a big deal when he finally gets jinxed, so he's like not gonna break it. So it's very significant at the end when the jinx gets broken. And then there's another episode called Bedtime Stories where the whole episode rhymes. This is a little bit of a spoiler. Marshall is trying to get his son to stay asleep, so everything he says is rhyming because he forgot the Bedtime Stories book. All the characters in the whole episode have to rhyme as well. It's fun. It's fun. It's interesting for the audience. It's fun to hear what rhymes they're gonna make. And Lin-Manuel Miranda's in it. Background change, because I wanted to talk about an episode with the character of the captain, and I have a nautical background I might as well use. The last episode I want to talk about is called The Ashtray. And I got this ashtray for $1 because of the episode. This episode is one of those where it's like, that's not the real story, I'll tell you the real story. First, Ted gets a mysterious phone call from the captain, and Ted and the captain have a past. He dated his ex-wife. Ted feels a lot of tension with the captain and he's like afraid of this call. He's trying to figure out like, why is the captain calling me? What happened the last time we saw each other? So he tells his perspective of the story, where Lily, Robin, and him were all at like an art gallery and they ran into the captain. And Ted's perspective is that the captain was very scary, was very threatening to him. So Ted finally calls the captain back and the captain says he wants to talk to Robin. So Robin is like, that's not what happened, Ted. I'll tell you what really happened. And she tells the story where the captain, goodness gracious, it's storming like crazy. She tells the story where the captain is very flirtatious with her and Robin was getting Ted out of trouble. So she calls the captain and the captain's like, wait, aren't you the redhead? So the captain wants to talk to Lily, not Robin. There was a mistake. So then Lily tells her perspective of the story and is like, both of you are wrong. Ted, you were stoned, and Robin, you were drunk, and your perspective is skewed. I was sober at this party. This is what really happened. The captain probably just wants his ashtray back because I took it because he was a jerk to me, as part of her long-term Aldrin justice, where like if someone's mean, she takes something of theirs. So she thinks, oh, he's mad because I stole this thing. Then she goes and talks to the captain and there's a different reveal. The captain had a different perspective of the night also. The captain wants to hire her as his art consultant, and it's actually a good reason why he was calling the whole time. I love that story structure. I love it as a human. I love hearing other people's perspectives and piecing together a story to learn what the truth of something is. It's also very effective comedically because it changes the audience's perspective. You trust the narrator for what they have to say and they're very convincing, but then you get to see it from someone watching it and another person watching it, and you get to see like why their perception was skewed at the time and their motivation for telling the story as they did. I think it's a very common plot structure in mysteries to get 3 different perspectives on a story. Those kind of stories make you look for details, make you look for inconsistencies. It's also a fun way to just break down character motivations in a story, and it might be like a fun writing exercise to see what would each character think. And it also breaks the mold of Ted telling all the stories. And if you think a little too hard, it makes you think, what if these stories that Ted is telling maybe aren't all the way truthful, because we see all these examples of perspectives being skewed. And kind of off of that, there's an episode called The Mermaid Theory where future Ted just forgets the story as he's telling it to the kids. He's remembering bits and pieces of the story, but then as he keeps telling it, they don't make sense put together, and he just gives up telling the B plot. As the other plot progresses, then he sees the connection to the B plot, and then we get it recontextualized and reframed into what really happened because he remembers. I love that in How I Met Your Mother, you get to see the character's perspective so often, and it's reflected in the plot structure. You learn as the characters learn, you're seeing it as the characters are imagining it, and then as the characters learn the truth, you get to see the truth. It's entertaining and helpful to an audience to visually see what the character is going through, visually see what the character is imagining, visually experience it, and then you get to sympathize at the end when everything's recontextualized, like, oh geez, I was led to believe this thing and it's really the other way. Or, what a relief, I had this whole thing built up in my head that was so terrible and it's not like that at all. The show is really emotionally impactful that way because it's not afraid to use the structure to supplement that. It really shows how different a vibe is based on who's telling the story. I hope this video made you learn something or think about something, or maybe inspired you to write your own story. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
I'll have the mint tea.
Okay.
Medium also?